Amy's going to try and answer some of the questions because Dr. Rashida is not here. But I caught something interesting, the second last slide. I don't know if we can project that, where there are 3 basic questions to ask that maybe we need to look into. Is it here?
Yeah, we're just going to go back a little bit.
Okay. Go back a bit. There. Okay. Yes. And if you've been here since yesterday, I'm sure you may even have answers to some of those in terms of what you had in the last 2 days. Especially, I'm more interested in the second question: how can we effectively use natural capital information to increase resource mobilization for conservation, climate change adaptation, or investment for water security? I thought that is a very key fundamental question, knowing that we know over the years that there hasn't been lots of resources pumped into biodiversity and conservation, especially within government, even though public expenditure is the biggest proportion for funding of biodiversity. But I think that the fundamental issue is that here we have natural capital, and how do we leverage on it to increase resources that can be plowed back into ensuring that we protect natural. Let me not steal the thunder. Amy, over to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's, as I said, it's very rare that in a project which is so focused on implementation and we've been doing so much, to have the opportunity to reflect and to ask ourselves, well, have somebody else raise up these questions and really think about, right, so we're trying to do something big here together, and it takes everybody. And I think what's come out of the last day and a half, which has been broad and deep and dense, is that there is so much happening. So the space is growing, and how to continue to make sure that that is a constructive space where we keep connecting the dots and we keep sharing information and learning. And it's really the importance of that community of practice, and how to keep it alive in a way that best suits the needs, I think are the sorts of things that we need to keep working on, because there is so much evolution so quickly. So yeah, I think that this work, which certainly sometime in the next 6 months will be finalized, I think, is going to raise these sorts of things to the surface, and also put some questions back to us, which is so useful, especially ahead of a review of our national NCA strategy. So that's all I'm going to say in addition, but I don't know if there's any comments or questions that you'd like us to note.
That slide caught my eye, but it was the 3rd question based on my passion when it comes to youth development. And that question exactly, I am trying to figure out, because I happen to work for somebody, how can we really ensure the better youth participation in this space of NCA. I saw Moho's presentation yesterday, and she spoke very well about how youth inspires in every space they are in. How do we then bring the youth to be the champions of this work? So that is one thing that I really I'm struggling with right now, to say, how do we put them in the forefront of this work?
Nice, yeah. They'll definitely understand all of the tools and deal with the social media side of things better than I do. Any other comments? And this can also feed back to your own kind of needs or desires for the NCA space. But we do have questions in the Mentimeter, which is going to ask you about your lowlights and highlights, and if something has shifted for you during this forum, so we can hold those until then. I'm not seeing any other hands. Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to close there. Back to you.
I almost knew it when she wanted to say something, that she was going to talk about the youth. Because she's very, very passionate about the youth. But I'm saying I need money so that we can then get the youth into the program, you know. But young people, I have been informed that we've got a lot of inspirational young people in the room that have, and I hope to meet them at the end of the session, obviously. But keep the passion going. Because in this country, I think we need more and more resource economists than we can ever, natural resource economists. It's a very fine niche career option that some of us only have to navigate economics of nature quite late in life, but those that have an opportunity to engage on it early on in their career, go for it. Because as you can see, the world is shifting. There's this global shift towards focus in climate change, biodiversity loss, land degradation, pollution. So we do need resource economists now more than ever. I am now going to invite Jen. Jen has been very, very passionate about a project called Ecological Infrastructure. It even has an acronym, and I think she coined the acronym in actual fact. But she's just one of those people that has been quite passionate in terms of pushing that particular project. So she's going to tell us what the next session is going to be, and I'll leave it to you, Jen. Over to you.
Thanks, DDG. Yeah, we call it ecological infrastructure for water security, but we stole it from somewhere else, DDG, sub-19. Somebody asked yesterday, where is sub-19? And we stole it from there. The session that we wanted to have now is a bit more of so it's a little bit of a shift. It's a little bit more of a reflective space that we want to hold. So because we're standing on the eve of Women's Day, there are a couple of women that I'm going to call on who've been very active in the space around natural capital accounts. And I want them to reflect a little bit about that, being a woman in that space. And talk a little bit about themselves, because we often say that NCA is not just a technical process, but it's also a social process. So there are people involved, there are individuals involved, and they bring their whole selves to this work, and we really want to see that. So I'll start off. I'm one of those people that when I started this journey with natural capital account, knew nothing about it. I joined in 2018 with this project, and I remember having a conversation with Mandy Driver, and she was explaining NCA, and she was like, and when she said natural capital accounts, the first thing that came into my mind, there's money involved, something to do with money. And she was like, no, we're talking about in biophysical terms. Okay. And I wish Mans was here this morning, because the money people were around the table talking about NCA. So we've come full circle. But essentially for me, I think there are key moments that stand out when I think about the NCA body of work. One of the first moments was engaging with Statistics South Africa. And it was in one of the meetings, I think it was both Rian and Robert that said it. They do a slow process when they develop accounts. It takes a couple of years to do things. And I was thinking to myself, what? We run through things have to move fast. But they take such an intentional, deep approach to when they go through the development of an account, because it has to be robust, it has to be sound. And that struck me. because the way that we wanted to work inside the project was also in quite a slow and deliberate way, which was very opposite to how our implementing agent, the DBSA, were working. Things needed to happen fast, they wanted results now. It's like, where are you guys with this? Why is that moving slowly, etc.? And so taking that very intentional slow down, let's understand this, figure this out, and figure it out collectively together with other stakeholders, with partners, with catchment management agency members, with water users associations, etc. It was a tug of war in the beginning. So that was one of the first things. One of the second moments was in the midst of COVID. So the NCA team was always Mandy, Amy, and Tuli. And then in the midst of COVID, we had this opportunity to grow the team, because obviously we couldn't continue to work in the way we were in the project. Capacity, it slowed down implementation quite dramatically. And so we thought, okay, let's get 6 interns. Put out the ad, we had such a massive response for young people, and when I say brilliant young people, I'm not exaggerating. And the team kept coming back to me like, but Jen, we need another one, like this one also, and like just one more, and then we had 16 interns in the project. And inside the NCA team particularly, there were these 3 bright sparks. Pumlani, I wish he was here. I really wish he was here. Pumlani, Voyo, and Moho joined us as part of the NCA team. And when I tell you, the energy shifted immediately. And what Dansila said, the energy that the young people bring, it was palpable. You could feel it inside the project. It shifted the way we work in the NCA team, but also in other parts of the project. And so I want to add my voice to what Dee said earlier. One of the things that I keep pushing at every opportunity that I get is, how are you bringing young people into this conversation? How are you mobilizing opportunities for young people to be part of this, and particularly young women? The thing that struck me in the midst of COVID, when we looked at that overwhelming need from young people that applied for those internships, was saying to me, there's amazing gems out there. We just don't have as many opportunities for them, but it doesn't mean we don't try. So at every opportunity that I get, I ask colleagues in whatever projects or things that they're developing, please put a gender lens on it. Please put a youth lens on it. Because unless we solve the youth unemployment crisis in South Africa, we're not solving any problem. We're not solving the climate problem, we're not solving the biodiversity loss problem, we're not solving the problems. So for me, it's a passion whenever I see young people being brought into processes, leading processes, supporting processes. It's something I'm really passionate about. And I think the other key highlight that I wanted to touch on, personally for me as somebody that's worked in NCA, is seeing how this work is starting to come together, and how the momentum of going from, oh, we don't know how this thing is going to pan out, and like, we don't know if people are going to buy into this, and like, they might still confuse it with money, and etc., to having this conversation that took place here this morning around mainstreaming biodiversity into the finance sector, and seeing how that effort and energy has started to pay dividends, and we're starting to see how this community of practice is growing in a way that we could not have anticipated. So I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to participate in the work around natural capital accounts. I want to encourage us to look for opportunities for young people, to include them, to give them voice, and especially on the eve of Women's Day, to really take a gendered look at how we do our work, how we're including the voices of women in different spaces. Often we say we tick a box, 20 women were in the room or 50% were women. Have we really looked at what contributions have those women made? Are we really looking at it closely? Because when women succeed, society succeeds. So I really want to say thank you to the team. I want to say thank you to the State SA guys, for letting us into your world also. It's been quite a journey. Our DFFE colleagues for the support. It's been amazing to learn this with you. So the next lady I'd like to ask to share her experience is Ms. Mukondi. She'll come introduce herself. She's a ball of energy. So I am looking forward to Mukondi's reflection. Thanks.
Thank you and good afternoon. Hey, you know when you are introduced and they say you have got ball of energy. When I was sitting there, I had a lot of information running through my mind in terms of sifting what I'm going to say here and whether I will forget something because I've got so much to say. So, my name is Mukondi Machusa. I was told that I must take that mic and walk around. So maybe let me do that before they chase me. So yeah, my name is Mukondi Machusa, and I studied environmental sciences at the University of Venda. I have worked for so many institutions ranging from mining to consulting to presidency. And then now, oh, you see my shop steward voice is very loud. So in that period of moving around from different institutions, from research to consulting to local government, I got to learn a lot around maybe not the concept of natural capital accounting, but in terms of how nature works in its entirety. But then I think a wake-up call was when I joined the DPME. During that time, it was still under presidency. I joined as an outcomes manager, was responsible for Chapter 5 of the NDP on environmental sustainability. So I was forced to read the NDP from page 1 to the last page so that I can understand in terms of how the environmental sustainability and it was at that moment that I realized that, but if we don't know how much we have of these endowments, then how are we going to fulfill that vision that is in the NDP? So then I got an opportunity to join the National Planning Commission as a sector expert on environmental sustainability. So, and then when I went there into that space, then I realized I was the only tree hugger in that space, because mostly it's your economic planners, chief economists, most of the commissioners are either in the social, political, or economic space, and I think it was only one commissioner who was on environmental issues, but mostly interested in climate change. So in all those discussions, as they are discussing how to remove South Africa from the economic growth trap, I never heard a single word on how we can use the natural capital in that modeling. It was human capital, built environment, infrastructure capital, and so on. And my question was, when I opened my mouth here, what am I going to use to pull my chair into this discussion? And then, fortunately enough, then I was invited to the NCA forum. I think it was in 2016 or 17, and I brought that ideology into that discussion because I was one of the panelists because I was looking at it from a user point of view in terms of, can I use that information that could be generated from these accounts to convince those guys that I work with? So that was at that practical level that I was looking at it to say, if I can't convince that chief economist who is my boss, who told me that he doesn't know anything that I do, so I need to convince him. So I came into that process looking for a solution in terms of how do we pull our chair into that table where socio-economic or economic modeling discussions are being undertaken. And I think that exposure also gave me an opportunity to see how other accounts, whether be it population census or infrastructure accounts, are also used to lobby for more resources for their maintenance because they are regarded as an asset to the economy. And I as much as it was not what can I say? As much as it was not a comforting way of putting it, but the way they were saying, no, but environment is just a liability. And here we are discussing first the assets that can build the economy. And I had to change that narrative, but I didn't have anything to to present to say, except for water accounts, mineral accounts, which they understood very well, even though on water accounts it was not from a context of then how do we plow back in terms of conserving those strategic water source areas. So yes, I got involved in the strategy. I gave a lot of headaches to Amy. and thank you very much for Sanbi for accommodating me to be part of their process. And now I'm at a stage where now I'm in the department where now the responsibility shifts a little bit, because now I must also think of me as a generator of these accounts rather than only being the user. But at the same time, because I'm also a biodiversity planner in the department and also for conservation of species and ecosystem, I also intend to use these accounts also to inform the decisions and the priorities that we are taking into this process. And through that interface, I'm glad that in the DPME space where I was working, I saw an opportunity to also introduce the young ladies that were working under the budget and planning section, because there is monitoring, evaluation and planning there. And I introduced the likes of Ms. Noktula Ngomane, who were still youth, and they went for the training. I think also other colleagues at DPME that went for that training, because I saw an opportunity that I think in most cases we still want to confine ourselves within the space that we operate. But I saw an opportunity to say, let me take it outside my field to also include, because those ladies were economists, in terms of how do we bring them into the space such that they understand there are these natural accounts and how we intend for them to use them in their economic modeling exercises and so on. So yeah, that is my story. I'm not sure how interesting it was, but for me it has been a journey, and I look forward to, I've missed out a lot. I was telling DDG, because then she forced me to go and attend another meeting, and I was saying, but I'm missing out. She said, you will go there tomorrow. so I'm here, and I will still go through maybe some of the outcomes so that I can also catch up very quickly, and in terms of how then we need to do in our space to support the work. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mukondi. What she failed to mention was at the start of my project, she was there. And she threatened me. She said to me, Jed, what's the impact? This project will not fly if there's no impact. And it was something I took to heart. And we had like a whole workshop. She came and sat in our office and she challenged us, like, explain to me, how is this benefiting people? Where are the people inside this thing? She forgot to mention that. But I was so grateful for it, because it reminded us to think about, whenever any kind of resources we get access to, like, what does this mean for people on the ground, and how do we utilize this? So, and that's why I love having Mukondi in the room, because she pushes the boundaries of what she doesn't stay in safe spaces. She makes you color outside the lines, and I really appreciate that about her. So our next lady in NCA that I want to call on is one of our other young people. So I want to ask for Boichepo, if you can come up and share your story with us. She's an intern in Statistics South Africa.
Good afternoon, everyone. the environment is becoming healthy for cattle and sheep to feed on grass. And how this impacted our society. We had to take our cattle and move them to another area where they can feed on healthy grass. In June 2023, I joined the Environmental Accounting with NCA. I got to learn about natural capital accounting, and this brought joy to me because it meant that the world is now taking into account how important the environment is, not only to human, but also to every living creature and every living thing. With natural capital accounts, one can learn how to improve their farming practices. Therefore, I am just looking forward to see more natural capital accounts that will inform farmers to continue to improve their farming practices. And that is my story. That's my short story.
Thank you, Bosepo.
I couldn't hear, sorry, Ames. That.
Okay. So the next speaker I want to call on is Tuli Mahlangu. Don't look so confused, Tuli. You've been deep inside NCA. So I want to just hear from you also.
I'm going to stand behind the mic because I want to hide myself. No, I'm joking. Yeah, like that. No. Okay, I'm just, yeah, just kidding. As Jen has already introduced me, I'm Tula Mahlangu, but to my colleagues and friends, I go by Tuli. And I'm the GIS specialist in natural capital accounts. I joined the team in 2019, and to make the story very short, I did not know anything about social process. I come from a very technical, deep space, and yeah, I've worked with SANSA, South African National Space Agency, which many people didn't even know that we had a space agency. I started actually my internship, my first job, at SANBI. So I literally did a full circle when I joined the team in 2019, and I did not know anything about natural capital accounts. It was a deep, deep dive. And the advantage is I come from a spatial technical space, but anything else from the software to how to do the accounts. And I think that's a point that has been touched base on in various kind of presentations about NCA not being only about the technical part. So the 2 points for me that I'd like to highlight were about the relationships. Coming into the space, having to see the from individual to institutional shifts that I observed and I was part of. And one of the highlights of that, or evidence of that, was when in our national strategic something, one of our community of practice, SAG, short. It was myself and Chifiwa, I can't see her here, but this lady here. We did a collab presentation, and in the time I've been part of this project, it was the first time the 3 organizations, we were in sync. And for me, it was a big shift. It was a huge, huge shift. And then second was working with the youth. And that is also something that I'm hugely passionate about. And I must say, for me, the intentionality in how we do the mentorship got us where we are. And the young people that you saw presenting here, yeah, I was literally emotional when I saw Moko presenting, because I remember the first time she presented. And I remember when we started, and Amy can attest to this, I think it was Levuyo and Pumlan, who's not here today, used to say, Moms, let it go, you know, because both me and Amy kind of like had the anxiety of letting things go. We wanted to perfect things, and I still have, obsessive behavior about letting go. So we needed to learn to let go of things that we started and see the baby growing, crawl, and walking. And now they're walking, and they've become experts on their own. And then lastly, it is about something we learned also from working with the youth, about slowing down. And the highlight was when the entire team met in Cape Town, and we blocked off time, which we did not afford at all. And it was the Sandy team and a consultant and a researcher, and we sat and we needed to work, like we captured. Like it was the most amazing moment because it enabled us to intentionally bring along the interns in compiling accounts. Because in coming back, we had a strategy on how we're gonna work side by side, compile, write, and Amy had to be, she was pulled off to something else. But literally it was myself and the 3 interns, and we worked on compiling the strategic water source accounts and writing them for the first time on our own. And she was there, like being the big boss lady. But for me, I think those are things that I'll always take with me. Social process goes hand in hand. We can't do the technical work without the social process. And it will never be mainstreamed without being intentional about social process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tuli. And then the last lady I want to call on is from Stats SA, so one of the chief directors, Bukang. Where are you hiding? So Bukang will come tell us her story.
Okay, so thank you very much and good afternoon to everybody. I was introduced yesterday, I'm introduced now, so I'm not going to introduce myself again. My story is very short. I studied, well, it's not an NCA story. I'll talk about the NCA story because I don't have a lot to tell in the space of NCA. I haven't done much impact yet, mark the yet, please. But my story goes as follows. So I studied economics and statistics. Be mindful that it had nothing to do with environmental studies, natural resources and everything. So post the studies, I happened to work in between private sector and government, obviously, within the space of economics. Throughout my career, I forgot that the economy operates on natural resources. Natural resources are part of the economy. That was, something that was completely out of my mind. Until recently when I joined Statistics South Africa, and that was February 2023. That's just over 18 months. So the nice thing about what's happening to me now is I'm slowly transforming, right? I didn't know anything about natural capital accounting, compilation of environmental accounts and everything. But now what's happening to me is, and I tend to pick this in the groups or my inner circles, because someone said to me not so long, what's gotten to you? What is stats doing to you? And I was like, okay, but why? They said, your jargon is changing. You're speaking of things you never really spoke about. You're now starting to encourage us to do certain things. You're talking about the environment. You're starting to talk about I had been involved at some point in life in water scarcity research and things like that, but never really into the accounting, natural capital accounting space. So now the person is saying to me, your jargon has changed. You're now starting to talk about things you don't even understand. You're now telling us about the biodiversity tourism. What is that? And I said to them, just watch the space, because now I am becoming one of the NCA women. In fact, that is what I'm telling all of you today. So let's just watch the space. Bokang is here now as one of the women in the NCA space. So yeah, that's my story. Thank you.
I want us to give another round of applause for this amazing woman. And just acknowledge there's so many more Mukondis, Bukangs, Tulis, Bochepos sitting here and out there. We want to encourage them to come into this space. Thank you, everyone.
We are told to move. And then we're told to move this. Okay.
Oh, you want to remove the flowers? Yes.
Come, Amy, come. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we even have to take the flowers away so that they don't shoot the other flowers that we have to see. Yes, we must see the flowers. Thank you so much, ladies, for such inspiring stories. I've listened to stories of the transformation that has happened within, you know, and what they have learned over the years. Of course, we need lots more champions in natural capital accounting, and I think that we are really appreciative that we have some of you that are able to then tell your own stories in terms of how you are growing. And I'll say growing because I didn't hear any one of them saying that I've made it. I had all of them saying that I had to learn, I had to get into this thing. Mukondi says she had to teach people about nature because they didn't care much. Bokan says I came in here as a pure economist and now I am easing into this thing. Very interesting stories that we've had. Thank you so much, ladies, for all those stories that we've had. We are now going to move to the next item, and I'm going to invite the Mentimeter ambassador to do the works.
While Ed is busy, is it on?
Yeah. So while you get yours working, the Mentimeter today, you must please go to menti.com. So just type into your phone, menti.com. You can't scan the QR code that's in your participant engagement form because we had a Menti issue. So go to menti.com and then put in the code at the top. No, I need to put it into presenter view. At the top here, 54950179. 54950179. And I'm going to try and make this bigger. So, should I do that once more? 54950179. 79. Oh no. I think the internet wants us to go home as well. Yeah. That's great.
If it's not working, just hotspot off me. Oh, is it not working?
Please fill in the survey.
Yeah, please just fill in and answer the questions.
Do you have them on? I don't think. Okay. Which one is it?
And I just want to say that as you answer these questions, I want us to think about the last 2 days and all the talks, the insightful talks we've had, the discussions, the sessions, the breakaways, and reflect on what has worked well or what hasn't worked well, what has shifted, if anything has shifted with us, and also give us some advice on some of the things we can improve on when we plan the next forum. So yeah, as you answer those questions, please just reflect on those questions and hopefully technology.
I'm going to leave my phone for you there.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Already we have 35 responses for giving a word for how you feel about the 2024 National NCA Forum. We've seen some great work there, informative. Some people are saying it was short. And then there's a wow, I don't know if wow is a word, but then yeah. And then some people said it inspires, it was intense, it was progressive. Some people are still curious, and some are overwhelmed, and some I think are just looking forward to the long weekend. And then I think Amy can move to the next question. Okay, what was the highlight of the forum for you? What did you like about the event? I think this is an open-ended question, and then people are saying they liked the food. Some foodies in the room. And then youth involvement, the flexibility of the process. Somebody says that everyone was very open to collaborate and share experiences, which is very important when we host events like this. And then somebody said the inclusion of traditional healers after the talk from Gogo Namsa yesterday. And then somebody saying in the spirit of Women's Day, women in NCA, no one trained to do this work specifically, but was drawn to it, leading along the way and seeing the impact of the work. Yeah, I think more responses will keep coming on, and then we can move to the next question. Amy. What was the low light of the forum for you? What did you like least, and do you have suggestions on how it could be improved? Somebody said time was tight. We need 4 to 2 days. I think we'll take that into consideration for the next forum. And then somebody said, depending on the number of discussion items, give a bit more time to deliberate. We'll also consider that in planning the next forum. Somebody said food. Yeah, we do have foodies in the room. And then time constraints are coming along again. I think we can move to the next question, Amy.
Okay.
How
Still doing, I think my... It's fine. Might be moving a bit
Are there
fast.
any particular topics that you would wish to see included in the next NCA forum, or any other suggestions for the next forum? Data provider sessions, impact of NCA on the ground, inclusion of cultural national assets, protected areas section, the impact of NCA on the livelihoods of our people, marine accounts, financing biodiversity in the context of NCA. So we do have some few suggestions for the next forum. You can move to the next question. It's a long weekend.
But you can still enter in.
You can still enter the answers, and then we'll get your responses when you consolidate everything. Did participation in the forum shift anything for you? Somebody said it was great to see how an active NCA community of practice South Africa does have. Involvement of private sector and their role in NCA, just like how we saw the discussions today since the morning. And the way to look at spatial data and use in the context of natural capital accounting, the role of traditional leaders in finance institutions. So there are quite a few shifts that happened for all our participants that joined us at the third National NCA Forum. I think we can move to the next question. It's the last question. I don't know how people are going to
This is the last question.
Were there any strategic conversations that you think will pick up on and with whom? I have a few responses here. Land cover changes, the capacity training. Dorothy mentioned, I think it's the opportunity for the fellowship in Oxford. Who spoke about that with Maguire. He was also interested in that. So the finance, Netbank, Johan, Netbank. So yeah. Speaking finance, people want to have strategic conversations with people in financial institutions where the money is at. And another one is youth and capacity building. That's a topic that I'm interested to have with more people in this room as well as a young person in the space. Finance, DFIs, financial institutions, so where the money is at, basically. I think we can move to the next question, Amy.
That's it.
Oh, we are done. We are done. Thank you very much, Amy.
And so we come to the end of an engaging last 2 days. Before I invite my colleague on stage, I have been requested that I should give a special word of gratitude to the team at Stats SA, led by DDG Jody Beer, that have really been working tirelessly over the years on the subject of NCA. We know that he's going to come up stage to thank everyone, but we just want to extend a word of gratitude and just keep the momentum going. One day, when the Statistician General has a media, quarterly reporting? One day he will say, today I'm only going to talk about natural capital. We hope so, and we hope that will happen very soon. And we'll certainly look forward to it. So thank you very much to you and your team for all the work that you are doing in this particular field. I don't know whether I should also be thanking the team from Sanbi.
Yes.
I should. But then it means I'm taking away from Joe on this one. But because they are in my family, I think I should thank them because I know they've really been working hard. But let me hand over to DDG Joe Dibia. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon for those that stuck around for this part. I'm often told that I talk too long, so I think the people that saw my name on the program rather left. I don't blame them. Let me also start by thanking those of you that participated in the Mentimeter when there was a question about what you enjoyed least or found the least useful, that you didn't mention the closing ceremony as being the least useful. To make sure that I don't delay the N1 North crowd, let me rather look at the speaking notes that was also provided. Because off the cuff I might just talk a bit too much. But having said that, ladies and gentlemen, but in the recognizing Women's Day, let's focus on the ladies. I'd like to take a moment to reflect on all the insights and discussions that we had over the last few sessions. I admittedly missed the middle part of day one as I was required to be elsewhere. But from the bits that I actually managed to attend, I found the discussions very useful and also quite thought-provoking, and it's things for us to go and reflect on. But my brief for today is to thank people, not to express my views on the content, so let me stick with that. And start off with a heartfelt thanks to our dedicated organizers. We could all see that the planning was done meticulously, very well, hard work was done, and I really appreciate your commitment to excellence and make sure everything ran smoothly. I'm sure there was lots of chaos behind the scenes that we don't know about, but from my perspective, it looked as if everything was under control. Let me then mention the NCA Planning Committee. It included reps from DFFE, SANBI, WRC, and then Stats as well. I think you can be proud of your achievement these last 2 days. Also, a word of thanks to all the distinguished speakers and the facilitators. You shared your expertise and your knowledge freely and without any reservations. I thought the presentations, as well as interactive sessions, sparked some very decent dialogue and hopefully gave you some new perspectives on these topics that you can take back to your respective work environments. Also, not want to forget the Mentimeter ambassadors. I think that really added a little bit of humor sometimes to the different sessions. And it's also useful for us when we plan a next session to reflect back on some of these key words that were highlighted. I also want us to recognize Gogo Nomsa Sebeku. She attended for the first time, and I thought brought a bit of a different perspective from the traditional health practitioners' side of things. As always, there's a lot of people in the background that we mustn't forget. Let me try to mention a few of these. All the note takers, the timekeepers, the microphone roamers, audio visual, the technical support. You might have seen video recording and some of the photos. I'm told that all of this will be on the website quite soon, but definitely only after the long weekend. It's not happening today. So as we leave here today, I encourage each of you to reflect on the learnings and the connections that you've made during these 2 days. Let us carry forward this momentum and apply the insights in our respective fields. And let's remember that the end of this workshop is just a continuation of the relationships that we already have. And hopefully you've built 1 or 2 new relationships during this time. So thank you once again for your participation and your contributions. Travel safe, and we'll see you at the next event. Thank you very much. We are now closed.